Okay, wait. You literally said fine to me. I asked how your day was, and you said fine.
I mean, it was fine?
You had a meeting that got canceled, spilled coffee on your keyboard, and then got a parking ticket on the way home. That's not fine. That's a story. That is three stories held together with bad luck.
Okay, yeah, that tracks. When you say it like that, it does sound worse than fine.
We are fixing this today. For you and for everyone watching who just told someone their day was good when what actually happened was genuinely a lot.
Fine. Let's fix fine.
Hey, if you're new here, welcome. This is English Couch. We don't do textbook English. We do the stuff that actually comes up in real conversations, the things your teacher probably never got to, and the small habits that separate someone who speaks English from someone who sounds like they actually live in it.
And today's episode started, for the record, because I said fine when Sarah asked how my day was, which technically was accurate.
It was not accurate. Accurate would have been, I got rained on, my meeting got canceled, I spilled coffee directly onto my keyboard, and then I got a parking ticket on the way home. That's accurate. Fine is a white flag.
It really is. It's just surrender, conversational surrender.
And here's the thing that's wild. Most English learners think the problem is vocabulary, like if I just knew more words, I'd sound more fluent. But that's not it. The real issue is something much smaller and almost nobody talks about it. It's not what you say, it's where you put the feeling in the sentence. Native speakers do something almost invisible when they describe their day. We're going to break that down, but first, the three words that are quietly ending conversations before they even start.
3 words. That's all. And you've definitely used all of them.
All right, here they are. Fine, good, busy. Those three words are doing more damage to your English conversations than any grammar mistake ever could.
And it's not that they're wrong. It's that they're closed. They don't leave any room. There's nowhere for the other person to go after my day was good. The conversation just stops. You've answered the question and also accidentally ended the interaction.
Okay, I need to confess something here because I was absolutely guilty of this. Not with fine, but with busy. Someone would ask how my week was going, and I'd go, oh, so busy, and then just stop. And they'd nod, and we'd both stand there in this weird silence waiting for the other one to say something.
Busy is the fine of professional conversations.
It is. It's the same energy. It's technically an answer that tells the other person absolutely nothing about you. And the fix, honestly, it's kind of embarrassingly simple.
Instead of giving a status update, you give them one moment, just one thing that actually happened, something with a little feeling behind it. You don't need to recap the whole day. You just need one true detail. Like, I tossed and turned all night, and then my alarm went off, and I just lay there staring at the ceiling. Suddenly, I know something real about your morning. I'm curious. I want to know more.
That's all it takes. One moment, one feeling. The rest of the conversation writes itself from there.
One moment. That's the whole lesson for this section. Hold on to that.
Okay, so this next part is where it gets genuinely interesting. Because there's this advice, show, don't tell, and it sounds obvious. Everyone's heard it. But when you're speaking in a second language and you're concentrating on getting the grammar right, showing instead of telling is the first thing that disappears.
Because in your first language, you do it without thinking. You say, my alarm went off and I just lay there. And everyone in the room feels the exhaustion without you naming it. But in English, when you're focused, you default to labels. I was tired, I was stressed, I was overwhelmed, which are all true, but they don't land the same way.
So here's what I noticed native speakers actually do, and it took me a while to clock this. They don't describe the feeling, they describe what caused it. You don't say, I was stressed this morning. You say, my phone was too loud when it went off, and I hadn't even opened my eyes yet, and there were already 3 notifications. The stress isn't named anywhere in that sentence, but you feel it.
That framing is really useful because it's not about being more dramatic or more expressive, it's about being more specific. You're replacing the label with the detail that created the label in the first place.
Exactly. And I want to push back on something here because I think people overcorrect when they hear this. They think fluent English means longer sentences, more phrases, bigger vocabulary. It doesn't. A short, specific detail does more work than a long, vague description every single time. My shirt was fighting me this morning is 6 words. It's vivid. You don't need to build around it. You just need the one true thing.
Okay, hold on. Are you speaking from personal experience with the shirt thing specifically?
Deadpan. I have had deeply personal, ongoing conflicts with certain items of clothing, yes. That is all I will say about that. Moving on.
The point stands, though. One specific detail. That's what fluency actually sounds like. Not longer, not fancier, just more real.
Okay, this next part is the thing that actually surprised me when Mike brought it up because it's so simple that it almost sounds like it can't be right. But once you hear it, you're gonna start noticing it everywhere.
The thing that makes someone sound fluent when they're talking about their day, it's not their vocabulary, it's not how many expressions they use, it's not even their grammar. It's the first 3 words of the sentence. That's it, the opener. That's where all the work is happening.
And honestly, when he said this to me, I had to sit with it for a second because it's true and I'd never thought about it consciously before.
Here's what most learners default to. My day was, or today or it was kind of a... Those are all fine, but they signal to the other person, subconsciously, that a report is coming. And the moment someone senses a report, their brain does this little half switch off, even if the content is genuinely interesting.
So the opener is doing the work before the content even starts. It's telling the listener how to receive what's coming. And native speakers do this automatically. To be honest, tells you the real version is coming. Out of nowhere tells you something unexpected happened. Okay, so funnily enough, tells you this is worth leaning in for.
Exactly. You're not starting with the day, you're starting with the feeling, or the tone, or the shape of what happened. And then the rest of the sentence doesn't have to work as hard because you've already framed it. Looking back on it tells someone you've processed something. I don't know why, but tells them something genuinely confused or surprised you. You pick the opener that matches how you actually feel, and everything after it flows naturally.
It's such a small shift, and it changes the entire energy of the conversation.
3 words. That's the unlock.
Quick pause. If you're not subscribed yet, this is the moment. Genuinely. The comments on this channel are actually worth reading, which is not something you can say about most places on the internet. People share what they're working on. They test the phrases from the episodes. They help each other out in the replies.
Someone in the comments a few weeks ago posted a whole breakdown of which conversation openers they tested in real situations and which ones got the best responses from native speakers. It was more useful than anything I would have thought to include in the episode.
Every month, we recognize 3 people from the community. Not randomly. People who actually show up, add something real, help someone else figure something out. We read every comment. All of them.
So subscribe, like it if something's clicking, and send this to one person, just one, who's working on their English. That's genuinely all we ask.
Okay, let's make this concrete. Real scenario. You run into a coworker at the coffee machine. They ask, "Hey, how was your day?" You have about 10 seconds before it gets awkward.
Old version. Pretty busy. Kinda tired. You? Conversation over. Nobody learned anything. Nobody felt anything. You both go back to your desks slightly more alone than before.
New version, and this uses everything we've talked about. The opener, the specific moment, the feeling without naming it. To be honest, I tossed and turned last night, so I woke up completely on edge. Then, out of nowhere, I had 4 messages all marked urgent before 9 a.m., and I hadn't even had coffee yet. I had to just knuckle down and block everything out. But looking back on it, I actually handled it okay.
That's maybe 40 words. And from those 40 words, I know how your night went, how you felt when you woke up, what kind of pressure hit you before the day even started, how you responded to it, and where you landed emotionally by the end. That is a full human picture from 40 words.
And it doesn't sound rehearsed. It doesn't sound like you studied it. It sounds like you. Because you're not trying to perform fluency. You're just being specific about something that actually happened to you. The specificity is what sounds fluent, not the vocabulary, not the grammar, the specificity.
Fine is not the enemy. Fine just happens when you don't know there's another way. Now you do.
Your turn. Think of one thing that actually happened today. Your commute, your lunch, that moment around 2 p.m. when your brain just quietly checked out. Pick one thing. Then describe it with at least one opener from today, to be honest, out of nowhere, looking back on it, and at least one phrase we used. On edge, swamped, tossed and turned, knuckle down. Drop it in the comments. Not fancy, just true.
And the episode question, what's the most chaotic, quietly terrible, or just genuinely weird day you've had recently that you describe to someone as fine? We want the real version. The more specific, the better. Embarrassing details are actually a bonus.
And if there's something in English that's been tripping you up, a phrase, a situation, something that always feels slightly off when you say it, leave it below. Those comments are where a lot of our episode ideas come from.
We read every single one. That part is not something we say for the algorithm. It's actually true.
I do want to say for the record that we never properly addressed the shirt comment. I feel like it just kind of floated away.
It deserves its own episode. Full 30 minutes. Just us and the shirt. Unresolved tension.
Excited. Next week, we're going into something that trips up even advanced learners. Word pairs that feel identical in meaning, but native speakers can instantly hear the difference. Like, the wrong one doesn't sound wrong exactly, it just sounds slightly off. We'll get into exactly why.
Subscribe if you haven't, like it if something from today actually landed, and send it to that one person in your life who always says fine no matter what happened to them. Maybe it helps.
Thank you for spending this time with us. Genuinely. You could be anywhere.
That's not nothing. Go have a day worth talking about, and if it's not, at least now you've got the words for it.